This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal. Today is Wednesday, April 20th, 2016, and the title of this rant will be New York GOP just voted for the torture and murder of innocents. So Trump won big last night. Just want to talk about what he has been saying in terms of what's going on in the Middle East. Really atrocious things that he has been saying, but he won decisively. So the people who are voting for him dig what he has to say. So recently he has said, well, in the last couple months, he's basically said that we need, in terms of dealing with ISIL, ISIS, Daesh, and in terms of what's going on in the Middle East, that we need to go further than waterboarding. So whereas the Bush administration didn't really want to say that they were torturing people, so they referred to torture as enhanced interrogation techniques, and of course said that waterboarding was lawful, not unlawful. And of course Obama has now said, no, we're not going to do this stuff anymore. That's not who we are. Trump has basically said that we have to go further than waterboarding, as I would like to say, enhanced waterboarding. So he wants to torture even more. And that's really not who we are. The second thing he's talked about is that ISIL, Daesh, etc., those people, their wives and children will have to pay the price, meaning that we should actually go after them, kill them. Because as he says, they don't mind dying themselves, meaning the men. But he thinks that they have some empathy for their wives and children, and that if they know that we're going to go after their wives and children, they might tone it down. I don't know if that's true or not, but just the concept that we would punish someone else, meaning just because of their relationship in terms of a blood relative, that we would punish them for the sins or the misdeeds or the murders, etc., of someone else. Again, extremely, extremely atrocious. And remember, he's also basically talked about bombing indiscriminately, along with Ted Cruz, to make sure that we could defeat ISIS. So what we would call that collateral damage. So for him, collateral damage means nothing. You know, we're just going to bomb them. Well, I know Cruz says we're going to bomb them into the next ice age, but we're going to bomb them indiscriminately. Any innocents are, it's just collateral damage. Now, here in the United States, Trump has talked about the closing of mosques. I do believe that is against the First Amendment. But again, he is indicating very clearly that we need to do something, and he's saying the status quo doesn't work, so we should just close mosques. Very indiscriminate. Of course, we already know that for terrorist acts in the United States since 2011, there have been more terrorist acts and more people killed by homegrown terrorists than there have been by, let's just say, Islamic terrorists. Both are unacceptable, but hey, we should just close all the mosques anyway, because I got to do something. I got to be decisive. And they're people of color, and we don't really want them here anyway, because he's also talked about deporting them all. So he just doesn't care about that. And just the last thing is he's talked about invading Syria with 20,000 to 30,000 U.S. troops. I hate to see ISIL get a prisoner of war of an American troop and what they would do and what they would show on social media for that type of thing. Hate to think of that. But I've said this a number of times, is that you win a war by taking geography. You have to take the land, and you have to hold the land. All wars are ended politically. So at some point, that area of 2/3 of Syria, which is mostly desert, and that third of Iran, which is mostly desert also, Iraq, that ISIL seems to be going back and forth to into small towns and villages, and of course they have Mosul. You need to have, a vast amount of troops, not only to take the territory, but to hold the territory. Suppose we could take the territory, we can't hold the territory. We need to work with all of the players there. And remember, as I have said many, many times, every player in that area has their own own things that they want to adhere to. They have their own agenda, let's just say, and they're not always in sync with the United States. And of course, we have a lot of players in there, and there's a lot of sub-players in there, and Trump doesn't get that at all. What's good for Syria may not be good for Iraq. What's good for Syria may not be good for Saudi Arabia. Every one of them has their own agenda, especially Saudi Arabia, especially Iran. And of course, we have the clash of the Shia and Sunni that's going on all over there. But again, the concept that we could win with 20 to 30,000 troops is the wrong concept to have, because even if we did win, we would have to be the occupiers, which we do not want to be, because we do not have the players in the area that right now can take and maintain that geography and keep it safe. Our hope is that we can get that, and we can get that very soon, that there will be a coalition of players that'll help all of that out. But remember, the Turks are against the Kurds. The Kurds are our best friends in Syria right now. So, it's a big cluster F, and Donald Trump has no idea what he's talking about in all of this. But getting back to it, he won the election in New York. He won it decisively, the primary. And so why does he have so many ardent followers? It is because he talks their language. He plays their game. At the same time, we know that in a general election, now that he's picked up some true professionals to help him run his campaign, he's going to have to tone this stuff down. He's going to have to walk it way, way back. The question is, has he already built, and it really doesn't matter. I believe this is the first primary that he's won where he's had over 50%. And if it isn't the first, it's one of the few. He might start running much higher now that he's won this one. But again, even if you look at it from a national standpoint, from national polls, in terms of the election, if the election were held today, blah, 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 he's losing to Hillary and to Bernie decisively, and he's not even getting over 50% of the Republican vote right now. Some Republicans will not vote for him, or they'll do what all the Democrats used to do, is hold their nose and vote for him. But he'll have to tone it down. But basically, our friends in New York, these Republicans who voted, these ardent followers of him, those that think that he can shake it up, that we need a change, are basically saying, yeah, we need to change. And if that means that we have to have enhanced waterboarding, increased amount of torture, and the murder of innocent civilians in the Middle East, that's okay. And it may be okay for them, but it isn't okay for me, and it isn't okay for the vast majority of Americans. That's it. Again, Tom Dillon, The Lifetime Liberal. I'm on Facebook under The Lifetime Liberal. All one word. Follow, post, all comments are both positive and negative. Greatly appreciated.